No, the title wasn't clickbait. You can almost play every single Pokemon title on the Switch with basically no problem, just some minor hiccups with some emulation. But besides that, this thing is a retro beast, so let's just get right into the video. Alright, here I am on the actual Switch firmware right now, and as you can see, I'm gonna be running Pokemon Odyssey right here. It is gonna be a Pokemon GBA game. They usually have no troubles. I'm gonna jump into the game. I'm gonna cut forward. Alright, so here we are. We're gonna be running Pokemon Odyssey like I said. It's gonna be having no issues at all. The Switch handles GBA games perfectly fine. This is a ROM hack of like Fire Red, so you can play literally any Pokemon ROM hack, any Pokemon title that's on the GBA with no issue whatsoever. There's no lag. Obviously, the GBA can run on literally almost everything, even like a 15-year-old smartphone. But yeah, we're gonna jump into the second emulation now. I'll see you guys there. Alright, now we're gonna be on Melon DS. This is also running on my Switch. As you can see, we're just gonna be launching Melon DS. Alright, so now we're gonna be on the DS. Obviously, as you can see, I've switched to my flip grid. You can actually play on portrait mode, which is awesome. These things cost like $2 off AliExpress. They do cost like $15 on Amazon, however, which is really strange. Don't buy it off Amazon. So as you can see, we're playing Pokemon Moon Black 2 on the DS. You can play literally almost any DS game with no hiccup. Not even Pokemon games. You can play almost any DS game with no hiccup with Melon DS right here. So as you can see, we're going to jump into game. This is a ROM hack like before, and it runs perfectly fine. There is also going to be touchpad support right here. So if I wanted to save, I could click save. As you can see, everything works. And a little disclaimer, I did forget to mention, you obviously do need to have your Switch modded if you can't tell already. But besides that, yeah, Nintendo DS game runs perfectly fine, literally. And you also get the bottom screen and you get this type of layout. It's awesome, really. Let's just jump right into the next one. Alright, for the next emulation, it's going to be the 3DS, but I do have to mention it's not going to be running on the actual Switch firmware. You do have to install Android onto your Switch. For my case, I installed Lineage OS. So I'm going to jump into Lineage OS and I'll cut to there. As you can see, we're now on Android. If I just pull down here, we're on Android right here. Did I just dox myself? I did. Okay, never mind. Restart. So now we're going to be testing out 3DS games, specifically Pokemon Ultra Moon. As you can see, we're going to be on Android on my Switch right now. So let's launch this game. I don't want to cut on this because I feel like there isn't a lot of just videos going around on YouTube showing that you can actually play 3DS games pretty well on the Switch. As I say that, it's obviously going to lag, but that's just cutscenes are going to be a little choppy, but the actual gameplay is going to be quite all right. So let's jump into my save file from my actual 3DS here. And let's get into a fight because I actually haven't tried getting into a fight. I'm pretty sure there will be some stutters, but that's just like initial shader building. So let's see this. Wow, there was a little slowdown, but there was no like hiccups or anything, just like audio messing up. Let's see, a little lag as you saw there, but as you see on the top left over there, running a perfect stable 30 FPS, which is what the normal 3DS hardware runs on. So let's use a move like, I don't know, let's use a Z move. That should make it lag a little bit, but after it builds the shaders once, it should never lag. Let's see how it does. No lag so far. It's surprising. Wow, no lag. It does seem a little frozen, or I think that's actually just how the Z move works in general. But yeah, I mean, 3DS games on the Switch, perfectly workable. One thing is, you do have to overclock your Switch. Obviously, you're going to also be on Android as well. But besides that, Azure just completely runs fine. Wow, there goes that. All right, let's switch on to our last emulation, which is going to be the most demanding on our Switch, unfortunately. But let's just switch right into it. Okay, so GameCube emulation is the one thing that the Switch really struggles in, and you might be wondering why that is. As you can see, it's running perfectly fine, but Pokemon battles and some cutscenes are slowed down by like 30%, which is not a major deal because it's not laggy. It's just slowed down by 30%. Is it a little annoying? But I mean, you're running GameCube games on your Switch natively, though it is on Android, but that's not the point. And I do want to end off the video by just saying you can get like a used Switch nowadays, like a Switch Lite even, for less than like $100, maybe max like 130, which is way cheaper than something like the Retro Pocket Flip 2 right here, even though I did get that for $130. But you can also get a mod chip installed by somebody, as it is pretty hard to install a mod chip on here, for less than maybe like $50. So the total cost, even if the Switch was like $130, is $180, which I would say is pretty reasonable for getting a console which can run Switch games, obviously, because it's a Switch, and literally everything below it perfectly fine. Like I said, the GameCube isn't that perfect, but I mean, it does the job, and I think it's a pretty good deal if you manage to snag a Switch for like $100, get it modded for another 50, even less maybe. Yeah, what would you guys do? Let me know.